Hey, Ken.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Man? I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How's life in Minneapolis?
Never changed.
Yeah.
Things calmed down a little bit, as far as the civil unrest that was going on, yeah, so kind of back to normal, people still protesting and whatnot, but just not as much destruction and everything going on. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Is we live up in Brooklyn Center, and my
Okay.
my wife's mom lives in Blaine. So like the first weekend
Mhm.
everything was going on, her mom's like, "Come stay with us. Like we're not going to be there. Like house sit." And we're like,
Yeah.
"Okay." Like I was like, "Nothing's going to happen, but like let's go, I guess."
Yeah, I think, I mean, people never seen anything like this. So,
No.
uh, everybody was like super worried and whatnot. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, it got a little crazy around the neighborhoods in like North Minneapolis and then some of the surrounding areas in South Minneapolis. But, people were out, in numbers protecting the neighborhood, establishments and businesses and whatnot. So,
Okay.
that was a good thing.
Yeah.
So,
How was it as like a fireman instead of like a police officer?
well, it was a little different. I spent 12 years in the army, so
Okay.
I was afraid. So it was just like kind of like being overseas. You were just in a little bit of chaos. I mean, we had like idiots, throwing rocks and whatnot, but it was more that mob mentality. So, but the only thing that really sucked, was we couldn't help out as many people as we wanted to. And what I mean by that is like, the business, because there was so many things on fire. Then we had to have an escort, either with PD or the National Guard, to go and actually put out that fire. And then there was so many things on fire at the same time. You had to prioritize what you were, which fire you were putting out first. Everything became about life safety. So unfortunately, like some businesses, burned because just we couldn't get to them in time. So that sucked, because we help people all the time, and more often than not, we're able to do our jobs efficiently and, uh, you know, help preserve um, things for people, and we save shit. So
Yeah.
it felt weird, having to watch. You had one fire, and literally, you turn to your right and you see another fire going, and it's like it's nothing you can do about it. Literally gotta wait. So that was the worst part about all that.
Okay.
So and then as a society, they don't understand how protocol or any of that works. What our standard operating procedures are. They don't understand that we gotta, you know, think about the firefighter safety first, so we can't just go in without an escort at that point, just because how unruly everything was at the time. So, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Like, yeah, I never even thought of that. I definitely didn't think that like you guys would need escorts to get places to put fires out. But
Yeah, because the first night, everything kind of just was crazy. That was before National Guard got there, and it was like that's when reports of like rocks being thrown and stuff. It's messing up equipment. You got to think about we lay 5-inch lines from the hydrant. If people take a vehicle and run that over or damage them in any way, then it can just make a long. I mean, the nights were already damn long, but it can make it even longer. So um, it was unfortunate just because, like I said, a lot of places that ordinarily we would have been able to save. You know, we couldn't just because you know we had to follow those safety protocols. So
Gotcha. Yeah, there's one of my friends posted like a bunch of pictures of businesses that had burned down, and
yeah,
she like across the street from our apartment complex there's a Popeyes, and like
yeah,
one of the pictures was a burnt down Popeyes, and I was like, oh, it's like I texted her, I was like, was this that one? And she's like, no. And I was like, oh, okay, so it didn't get by our house. Okay.
yeah,
And I was like,
yeah. And then you know you found out pretty quickly, you know, that it wasn't, you know, people from Minneapolis or people who are from there. I'm not saying they weren't rioting or looting, but wasn't burning things down.
yeah,
You know, because you went back there in the day, you know, so you basically get off work and you come back, help clean up, and you see all these people out there. And that's when it hit me, and I was like, there's no way these people are coming out here to do all this cleaning and donating and helping only to come back out at night and burn things down, you know. And as you can see, you know, they've arrested some of the people who started the fires, you know, and it takes some things to get fires going. Like you can't just, you know, run up on a building and light it on fire. Like it's a strategic method. You know, you got incendiaries, you have it's a plan. You know, Molotov cocktails, things that are going to get a fire started and get it going. You know, you can't just. It's very hard to just start a fire. And I was telling, you know, one of my friends in South Minneapolis, she was like on off 39th Avenue, so not super close, but not too far away. And she was like, she was explaining to me that some of her neighbors were wetting, you know, basically like putting water on the outside of the house. And I was just, she was like, do I need to do that? And I was like, well, no. It'll take a lot to start a fire. You know, most fires we have, unless like the porch is on fire, you know, they start inside a house. You know, it's something inside the house. And even if the porch is on fire, it's relatively, that takes a while to get going before it can get the whole house in flames, you know. So yeah, just you could, if you know anything about fire, you knew this was like strategic arson, researched, you know, deliberate type stuff. So
okay.
that part, again, people not knowing, you know, but as you can see on Facebook, you know, everybody got an opinion, and you try to educate people, but you can only do so much, you know. So
Yeah, there's a lot of different opinions going on out there on Facebook, which
yeah, it's what's somebody said, people aren't necessarily looking for dialogue, they're just looking for projection, you know, to kind of project themselves as this or that, which is unfortunate.
yeah.
You don't get a lot of back and forth good dialogue that way, you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have just taken to social media to like express how they're feeling, not really caring what it's going to do to someone else, which is unfortunate, because like social media could be super fun and super awesome for people. Like back in the day when MySpace was around and you had like your top 8 and you just shared your music and that was it.
Yeah, straight up. You know, you had your back screen, you know, you had your music, and you know, it was, that was a much simpler time, you know. And then somehow, some way overnight, you know, people just thought that everybody need to hear what they're thinking. My friend, strength and conditioning coach, Matt Miller, he said it best: the world was better when we didn't know what the hell everybody was thinking, because it's just, I say Facebook is a lot of things, but it's a truth teller, and that's what I've noticed more than anything. You know, over the past week or 2 weeks, a lot of people are telling on themselves and, you know, revealing themselves for what they really are, which is fortunate and unfortunate. You know, so
yeah. Facebook should like take a page out of Twitter's like book and limit the characters, or just make people like post their like rant on Twitter so that they only get 140 characters to express themselves.
Yeah, they find a way around it, because now, you know, Twitter, they have the threads. So
I know, it's so bad.
8 parts. So yeah, they'll find a way. find a way.
Like
Unfortunately,
I made a tweet last week for the first time in like I don't know how long, and like I was just like I saw a bunch of people's posts about like different like nutrition protocols and like
yeah.
how they're eating to like gain weight or whatever, and I was like, you know what, this is hilarious. And so I posted and I was like, you can't call it dirty bulking if you're eating like the standard American diet. You can only keep eating shit. And like I was like, and then like the next day I was like, that person didn't like it, that person didn't like it, that person didn't like
Yeah.
it. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
delete Twitter for the next 2 days.
Yeah. Sometimes it isn't worth the headache.
No, I was
But
like,
for me,
delete.
yeah. Sometimes it's just not worth the headache.
So how'd you get started in, I guess, firefighting? You said you're in the military for 12 years. Is that like what got you started to becoming captain?
Honestly,
Which congratulations, by the way, that's awesome.
thank you. Honestly, Facebook got me on the fire department.
Really? Okay.
uh, I had just got out, and I was working downtown for Valspar. I was doing logistics and the paint company, and I liked my job. I liked the people I worked with, and it was pretty fun. Like, I was I was the youngest person working in our logistics group, and I had I guess a different perspective. I always get along with people, so and that was a lot of our job. Either talking to vendors for the company or like transportation sources throughout. Whether it be by truck, rail, or sometimes plane. So you just setting things up. So I liked it, and then one day a friend was complaining about not having a job. So Caitlin Young, she
Yeah.
posted the fire department was hiring. I clicked on it, and it was like 2 days left for applications at the armory, and I just saw like paramilitary organization. I was like, got paramilitary structure, so the whole chain of command. I was like, hey, put an application in, and put the application in. It was a bunch of people there. But when I went to the convention center, to do the little, basically like written test, um, it was a lot of people there. But so we had, I think, over 3,000 people apply for that position, and the list ended up being like 200 people on that list. But
Okay.
when you were there, everyone had on a volunteer fire T-shirt or some fire shirt, and I didn't have not a clue about the fire department, how it worked, how fire worked, any of that. So I was like, I don't know what I'm really doing here. But I took the test, did well. Then I did the physical. It was basically, I think, 9 to 10 different stations. You had to finish it in 10 minutes and 20 seconds. I think I finished in like 7 something. It wasn't too bad. Um, did that, then I did the interview, and I can talk with the best of them. So that was my best actually scores, because you scored the written test, physical test, and the interview. Then they combined it all together, and that's how they came through with the list as far as by score. So finished that August 2013. They came out with the list, and I was like number 18, I think, 16
Okay.
or 18. Then that March we started cadet school, and yeah, so I've been doing it for a little bit over 6 years, and just last year I took the captain's test, and same thing, take a written test and a practical, and they basically score and come out with the list. So I think we had like 43 people take it, 23 pass, and then I finished number 3 on that list. So I got promoted last July 21st. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I didn't know anything about like everything, the job in hell, but I haven't had a day where I was like, I don't want to go to work. I haven't had a day that like that yet. So I'm lucky. I'm blessed to have the job I do. So yeah.
That's awesome. And do you think your like stint in the military helped you prepare for all this stuff?
Yeah, I would never been in Minnesota had it not been for the military. So, but definitely, just that, just how cadet school was, the environment of it. I've been here, done that before. So, and then you kind of, you have your opportunities in the military to test yourself under chaos. How do you react when things are not in the best of circumstances? So just that comfortability alone. I'd seen some things, did some things where I was okay with some fire. So, yeah, it was a pretty control. Being in a fire, I know a lot of people, think they could never, and all, a lot of extremes. People watch what's that, Chicago 911, Chicago Fire or 911. So they get a lot of images off that. But with just the way the Department of Standard Operating Procedures, the SOPs are like everything's designed to keep us safe. So long as you know how to do your job, which is not that hard, you'll be good. So
Okay. And then I guess backing up even farther, what made you want to get into the military?
so I grew up in Chicago, and
Okay.
my mom moved us to North Carolina when I was 13. So we moved to North Carolina in 1999, and I just knew I wanted to get out of North Carolina. I just wanted to experience something different. I love North Carolina, but I knew I wanted to. I've always tried to be a little different, stand out. So I wanted to get out, and I was like, my older brother had joined the military, so I was like, oh, if he can do it, I damn sure can do it. So, so yeah, I joined, and I didn't think much about it. I was 17, and my mom had always told us, come 18, you got to get out the house. So you better be doing something, school or military or something. So I was like, yeah, all right, let's do it. And it turned out to be the best decision I ever made. So
That's awesome. And then how did that bring you here to Minnesota?
so my daughter, she's 12 now. I met her mother when I was in Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. She was
Okay.
from Minnesota. Then I had a bunch of buddies as well that was from Minnesota. So I got up here a little bit, and it was either time for me to re-enlist or get out. And I had got up to staff sergeant, and by that time it gets political. I was thinking about becoming the next rank, sergeant first class E7, but it got really political, and you couldn't kind of have that voice, just because everything came from such a, structure. You had to go through 6 or 7 upper levels before you can get an idea passed, and not everybody had the same objectives, and I run my mouth too much, so I knew it wasn't going to be a career move for me. And then I saw a lot of people that were getting ready to retire, and that's all they knew was the Army. Like, you knew they were going to be lonely when they were done. Like they weren't going to know what to do with themselves. And I didn't want to be like that, whether it's, mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu, the fire department, or the military. I try to, I love those things, but I'm not dependent on one of those things to make me happy. I find my happiness other places, and just kind of find that balance. So I just figured it was time for a change. So
Okay. Cool. And then how many, I guess you said like this stuff that happened in Minneapolis was like a lot of people have described it as like a war zone. Like that, like your tours and everything that you would have done, that I don't want to say like was worse or better, but like they probably made you like be able to like handle this stuff a lot easier, right?
yeah, yeah, it was the worst and best thing that ever happened to me. Like you, you know, the worst thing is, your battle buddies, your friends that, don't aren't here today, you know, they didn't get to come back. That's the worst part, you know, but it does make you put life in perspective and just see things totally different. It gives you more of an appreciation, you know, you got to kind of make the best out of it. And I don't think I wouldn't be the person I am had it, you know, not happened, had I not been in the Army and not been deployed, you know, it kind of molded me into what I am. So I'm thankful for it, you know. And yeah, you know, it was part two, you know. So, you know, all of this, you know, even when the coronavirus and like, you know, they came out with all the rules and regulations and you know, I was talking to my guy Tim Blackstone. He was in the Army too, and we just said like this is Army life all over. You know, you got somebody higher above that may not fully understand what is going on, but telling you what to do. So the Army has definitely prepared me for the life I'm in now. So I'm grateful for that.
Awesome. Awesome. And what are some of the things that it's taught you or that you would like to like pass on to other people that maybe are going through a tough time now due to COVID, that they're not able to go outside as much, they might have lost their jobs, stuff like that? What advice could you give those people?
I would just say, you know, one of my favorite sayings is there's no testimony without the test. You know, believe it or not, people have been through worse, and that doesn't, you know, mitigate or, you know, make it less of a struggle of what you're going through. But if you believe, that's the mental part is the most important part. You know, you got to try your best to stay mentally strong and just be optimistic. You know, knowing that some way somehow it'll work out. You know, because you're gonna make it work. You know, and I'm not talking about you know how can I say it false self will. I'm just talking about staying positive, trying your best to make the best of the situation that you have because you know, this is going to be talked about forever. This year 2020, you know, and then what you can etch out your story right now, you know, in history. You can forever have this imprint on your life and be able to tell these stories and impact somebody else's life, you know. So it's an opportunity more than a burden. You know, it's an opportunity to rise and to be great, you know, and that comes in many ways, whether it be finding a new part-time job or, you know, losing weight or, you know, doing something creative with your time. It's many ways to do it. You just gotta take it a day at a time, you know, and uh don't stress twice, you know. So don't worry about something that's coming up that you're only gonna go stress about it again when it actually hits, you know. Control what you can and you know, remember you got people around you that's going through the same thing and try to lean on them, you know, as much you can, as much as you can. So
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I think this time has like given people or should have given people like time to pause and reflect on like what is important in life and what like has a priority that they need to like stress over, because obviously stress is important because without stress you don't grow. So like it's given people, whether they've had 2 weeks or 2 months off, they're like, oh, you know what, that's not that important, I can let that slide, or like I need to give my time to this instead.
yeah.
So is there anything you found in the last couple of months that you've picked up, or maybe a new hobby or something you've gotten into?
Well, my friend Lemmy calls it the black liaison.
Okay.
You know, with all this, you know, with the whole George Floyd situation, clearly, you know, a lot of people are confronted with, you know, racial issues that's going on, you know, and I think just because of the mix of everything, and especially with COVID and the time that folks have, like, you know, it's finally hit them in the face, like, hold up, something's wrong here, you know, and obviously the way George Floyd died, you know, civil rights attorney out in LA. What's his name? Can't think of his name right now. It's slipping my mind. But he was on the with Johnny Cochran. He was on the OJ case. But he said it. This one is different because George Floyd narrated his death. You heard him. Can't breathe. Help me. He heard him call out for his mama. You heard him say, you guys are gonna kill me. And if you watched that video, you saw like the life leave him. So I think that combined with just people losing their jobs, being in quarantine, having restrictions. I think the glass broke and it didn't break into 2-3 big pieces. It shattered into a million small pieces. And I think a lot of people are trying to find out. A lot of people just want a different world, like a good world, like people aren't asking for much. So I think everybody's trying to figure out how they can help, and what can they do. So I've had more conversations with my white friends about race than I've in this past 2 weeks than I have my whole life easily, So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Okay.
To people. So yeah.
Yeah, and I had my buddy Will on the podcast last week, and he's a black guy that lives in Burnsville, and like I grew up in Southwest Wisconsin, so it's super rural. Like there's there's like 4,500 people in my hometown. There's maybe like 4 black guys, but like I was blessed with the fact that one of the families that went to the church I grew up with adopted 17 kids. And like the majority of them were black. So like growing up, like they were just my friends. Like we just played sports together. Like I didn't see them as any different than anyone else. And like I was talking to Will and he's like, yeah, but what you have to realize is that like we like have to grow up with different like sets of rules that our parents give us. And he's like, when I was growing up, my mom would be like, dude, when you go to the grocery store, like keep your hands out of your pockets, like take your hood off, smile, be nice, like use your manners. I was like, oh shit, really? Like I never thought of that. Like not to sound like a asshole, but like I never thought of that. Like I would just walk into the store with my parents, and like when I was hanging out with like my friends Nikki or Joey, like we would go in the store and like I would never notice them do any of those things. But now like looking back at it, I'm just like, oh yeah, they would have a different demeanor when we would go places. And I was like, but like looking back at it now, I notice it. But like it hit me, and like I told my wife, and she was like it hit her like in a different way too. And we're just like, what the fuck? Like it's 2020. This should not be happening.
Yeah. It's exhausting. But like you said, like that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, admitting that, you were naive, because, why would you have to think about that? Unfortunately, we did, and that's no fault of yours, and like I tell people all the time, like this whole I don't see color, or it's not realistic, because in reality, if me and you go somewhere, 9 times out of 10 somebody gonna see there's a white person, there's a black person, and that's okay. Now if you see there's a white person, there's a black person, and you treat that black person differently, then that's the problem, or if you treat that white person differently, that's the problem. You can see color and still treat everybody with respect, and have respect for cultures, beliefs, religions, all that. You can do both. So when people say, and I'm not saying you say that, but people they don't want to be. It's uncomfortable admitting those things. It's uncomfortable saying that you're naive, or thinking that it's 2020 and this stuff is still going on, and you've just been going about your business. That doesn't make you feel the greatest, but that's the first step into moving forward. Because I tell people all the time, black people can't eliminate racism. Like, we're not gonna be able to do it by ourselves. We can fight. We've been fighting, but we need help.
Yeah.
You know, we need our allies, and that's, it's okay that we know they're our allies and we know they're white, because then you're gonna meet people that has never met a black person. You know, you're gonna be able to talk about your experiences with black people, with people who've never had an experience. You know, but they might have this conception of something that they got off TV or something they seen on the news or whatever, and you can let them know, well, this is what I've experienced, you know, and they're gonna listen to you, you know, and that, you're not gonna change every mind, but you can definitely help some people who want to be helped, you know. So yeah.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I'm really glad you said all that. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I I've always been good, you know, talking to people, and I've had more people, you know, reach out to me and just ask me, like, you know, what the hell, like, you know, I want to help. What do I do, or what can I do? You know, so, and I don't. It's not my job to educate people, but I can definitely lend a hand. Like, hey, like, you know, you can read this. You can, you know, you can listen to Dr. Cornel West, or, you know, read a book from, you know, Ibram Kendi. You know, he has a book called How to Be Anti-Racist, and, you know, I wrote this on Facebook because this is the best, like, analogy I can come up with. You know, if somebody is speaking of pedophilia or talking about sex trafficking of children, or, you know, a pedophile, you'll never hear anybody say, well, I'm not a pedophile. No, people are like, it brings instant anger. You know, people are like, that's sick. You know, you can just see the anger and resentment, you know, when that's being talked about, or, you know, being discussed. And that's how people should be with racism. If you are around somebody who is being racist, there's no such thing as a little bit racist, or, oh, they're just joking. That subconscious, what they're doing, and then what they can be doing to those around them, is only perpetuating what the hell we've been trying to eliminate for so long, you know. So when you speak out and let people know that that isn't okay, it's not your job or goal, shouldn't be to change their mind, but they should know, they should not be comfortable being racist around you. And like I said, I'm not, I don't care how little it is, or, you know, any of that, because it's not cool. You know, if somebody is around me and, you know, talks of, first of all, nobody's gonna be racist around me, because, you know, I literally, I'll smack the shit out of somebody.
yeah,
Like,
you'll
you know,
kick their ass.
so if somebody, if I was to hang up with you right now, you know, and a friend was like, you know, oh, why you talking to that boy, blah blah blah, I'm gonna check him. I'm gonna check him right away. Like, what? No, 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 because you're not gonna bring that around me. I don't want that type of energy. I don't want that type of thinking. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna let people either way be racist towards anybody. You know, but there is definitely racism towards people of color, and it's just accepted, you know. So, what's her name? Robin DiAngelo, she was talking about it, you know, when you had a dinner, you know, and people asking her, like, well, how do, she wrote a book, couple books, but, you know, she talks about race all the time. She's like, well, what about that, like, racist uncle, you know, who's at the dinner table, you know, and says that racist thing, and I don't want to, you know, make dinner uncomfortable. And she goes, well, you should be uncomfortable finishing dinner after that. More, you should be more uncomfortable finishing dinner after that than you should be actually interrupting and letting them know that that's not okay. You know what I mean? And I think that's just a state of mind people have to get in, because that goes a long, long way. And for people who never will have interaction with me or any other black person, that can go a long way into just treating people the same, you know, no matter what they are, you know, just like Martin Luther King said, you know, just treat them by the content of their character, not the color of their skin, you know. And that's a simple philosophy, but for whatever reason, it seems to be very difficult for people to understand. But you need to, you should want to, just as a decent human being, to be respectful to everyone, you know. And if they give you a reason to not be, then by all means, you know, proceed accordingly. But you judging someone based off the color of their skin, like you said, it's 2020. Why are we still doing that? It's ridiculous. I was looking, not to keep rambling, but
No, go for it.
And they it was June 7th, 1917, estimated 10,000 African Americans marched down Fifth Avenue in New York City to march against, you know, racial discrimination and white supremacy. It was 103 years ago. 103 years ago they were marching for this, and it's 2020 and we still marching for this. And Erykah Badu said it perfectly. She said, "You're lucky. Black people just want equality and not revenge. You know, we're not asking for an upper hand or revenge. Right? We're just asking for equality, just the decent dignity and human morality that everybody should be met with. And for whatever reason, in 2020, that's still a big ask, and that it shouldn't be that way. I don't want my son to be doing this when he's 34. So I'm trying my best to help as best I can to change that. And it's a steamliner. It's not a speedboat. It's going to take a while, but I'm in it for the long run. So, yeah.
That's awesome. We've been talking for like 36 minutes and I've learned so much already. Like this is awesome. I love it. And like I've seen your posts and stuff on Facebook, and I know you're like a big member of society, obviously being the fire captain. Like that's why I wanted you on this podcast. Like the last like rant you just went on, like is like the heart and soul of why like I knew it would be so important for you to be on here. So like before we continue, like thank you. Like sincerely, thank you for doing this. This is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, man, it's my pleasure. You know, like I said, the more people I can, you know, give a different perspective to, a different point of view, make them think a little bit, you know, it's going to help us all in the long run. So I'm with it.
Yeah. And one thing I thought of while you were talking was like, there's the quote that every single person knows growing up is like, treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
There's nothing like about different colors in that quote. Like it's treat others the way you want to be treated. It does not care who they are, what color they are, like what background they are. Like if you want to be treated well, you treat the other person well. If you don't, well, whatever, right? So
Yeah, I agree, and it's like I said, you know, these simple ideas are very difficult for people to understand, and I you know, I always say angry people, you know, aren't happy in their life, you know, and you know, people got to take a look at themselves, but that is it's a hard truth, you know, it's a hard truth to look in a mirror and tell yourself, well, I may be racist, like, but that is such an important truth because it's like a cancer, you know, if you have cancer, then we can help you out because we know you have it. You know, the sooner you are diagnosed with whatever sickness you may have, you know, you can help yourself out. And it, you know, people think of racism as such like um broad or like, you know, where you're automatically calling me an N-word or, you know, you're saying you don't like uh black people or you don't like Asians or whatever. But it's so much more than that, you know. Like I've been telling people over the past couple of weeks, especially on Facebook, like, you know, what you're saying and the rhetoric you're giving is comes off as racist. It's offensive, and I'll tell you why. you know, and some people double down on it, and you know, they're not used to being told they're wrong or why they shouldn't be saying something they're saying, you know, and it's hard for people to grasp that concept. But at the same time, if all you posted, you know, since you've been on Facebook, you know, you've been posting the whole time, and if all you posted is other Black people talking about how racism isn't that bad or racism doesn't exist, you're probably racist. It's that simple. If you can't for a second, you know, leave the whole left versus right, Republic versus Democrat state of mind, and stop mixing Democratic or Republican or political parties with human dignity, then you're racist. And it doesn't mean just because, oh, I have a Black friend, or I, you know, give money to a Boys and Girls Club or any of that. I'm sure Jeffrey Epstein gave donations to plenty of organizations, and he was a fucking sick bastard. So that doesn't, you know, that's not the way to righteousness, you know, so to say. You know, you can do, you know, good things and still have displaced heart. You can still have a mindset that in the long run or long or short run is uh, stopping the advancement of racial equality and racial inequities for me, you know. And it's frustrating because I try to be civil, and I try to, you know, come across and talk to people and, you know, reach them, but at the same time it's infuriating. You know, James Baldwin said to be Black and to be conscious is to be enraged all the time, because you just the amount of just foolishness that you have to deal with is infuriating. It's exhausting. You know, I had a guy. I have a lot of people on Facebook. They're not all friends. You know, I got a bunch of people I know from mixed martial arts community, a bunch of people from the Army, a bunch of people from the fire department, and everybody has different views, and that's fine. But I'm not gonna tolerate your racism without calling it out. And that doesn't mean I'm gonna defriend you. You know, I'm gonna tell you about yourself. I'm gonna hold this mirror up, and if you want to close your eyes, that's your choice. But if you want to look at yourself and figure out, you know, you might have shortcomings and what can you do to get that right, then hey, I'm all for you. You know, but some people, they don't want to do that, you know, and it's unfortunate. But I will say I get a lot more people who are actually willing to listen, willing to hear my perspective, even if it doesn't change their train of thought. You know, they're at least mindful of what they might be doing and how it might make me feel, you know. And if you're a quote unquote friend of mine, then that's something you should be aware of, as I'm be aware of that with you too. You know, I'm gonna treat you with that human dignity. I'm gonna give you your respect, and I'm not gonna say something just because it might hurt you. You know, I'm thinking of that. So yeah, another rant, sorry. But
Don't
yeah.
be sorry. Like, this is absolutely amazing. Like incredible. Have you listened or watched the Joe Rogan podcast where he interviews the Black musician that has gotten 200 Klansmen to turn in their hoods and their everything?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I had like a sort of
like,
brief summary of that.
yeah, like people need to go listen to this and then need to go watch or listen to that, because it will definitely like change their perspective on life. Because like he was out playing music at a bar and just sat down with a guy, and the guy's like, this is the first time I've ever had like a drink with a Black guy. And I was like, how is that possible? This guy sounds like he's like 40 something.
Yeah. Yeah, and like not to paraphrase Martin Luther King, he said it like it's not the outright racists who are the problem. Like you go down south, like Florida, Georgia, they gonna let you know. You
Yeah.
know, like they gonna let you know they don't like black people or they don't like Asian, they don't like mess. They will tell you and go about their business. You know, they'll keep, doing whatever they were doing, but they're gonna let you know. But the worst part is, like Martin Luther King basically said like the you call it the white conservative who is silent, who isn't aware of what their actions or thoughts or sayings or words, the total effect it has. That's the harmful part. I got people, I don't know how many friends. I got about 3,000 friends on Facebook. But I have people I have to explain to all the time. Like I put a post the other day, for I said, hey, this is for my white people who are asking me how they can help. And I had two people ask me, well, why does it have to be white people? Well, because they're white. Like, so this whole notion that you don't see color, that's bullshit. If I go outside, I'm seen as a black man. Like, stop with that. Like, that don't work for me. If you go outside, then yeah, nobody is worried, saying like this is a white male, because there's a bunch of white males around. I'm in my neighborhood, there's not another black person for at least 8 blocks. Like, but when I'm walking around, like everybody knows, like we're the only black family around here, So it's like these are just, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's the reality. But for you to be telling me this fairy tale fantasy land world is infuriating, it's insulting, and it's just downright dumb, because it's not gonna help anything. So I had a gentleman, tell me I'm making a division by saying white people. And that's just how clueless some people are. He didn't hear the message. The message I was talking about was basically confronting racism head on. And that way, you can make these uncomfortable conversations, and you're not going to, fix everybody or help everybody, but you can help some by doing that. But that totally went over his head. He wanted to tell me about his experiences of, being ostracized as a white male. And he also said something totally incorrect, telling me that if we both went for the same job, that I'd have the advantage because I'm black, which is just not true. Like in some cases that is, but when I applied for the fire department, who got the advantage? Veterans and people who lived in Minneapolis. Not black people, not natives, not Mexicans. No, it was veterans and people who lived in Minneapolis. And out of 19 people in the first class, it was one black person, me. So, but this is just, and that is probably the most frustrating part is people have these beliefs and, they know that they're right. They got it figured out and they couldn't be more wrong. And this guy is like 30 some years old. So who else has he helped misguide along the way by telling people this shit? So I got a lot of work to do, man. That just makes more people I gotta talk to try to straighten out, to try to help understand like what is really going on. I don't have an agenda. Well, I do have an agenda, equality, but that's not that's an okay thing, I'd say. So yeah.
Yeah. And like, I guess growing up, like I was definitely naive because like I obviously, like I say, I didn't see color. Like I hung out with my friends. We were just friends. We played basketball, football, whatever. Like we just hung out all the time. But then like one of my friends that like graduated a year after me, he is 6'6". He weighs probably like 250 and he's a doctor and he's also a black guy. So like if he's not wearing his doctor's uniform, he's pretty intimidating. But he's like the nicest dude you would ever meet. Like he was giving people hugs all the time. And he made a long post about, hey, like I realize I come off as intimidating and I know I do, but I'm not. Like I was like, I never thought you were intimidating, but I guess other people do. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, it's to be first of all, it's already black, so but to be big and black, oh Lord, yeah, yeah. So it's like a double curse because you're already perceived, and this isn't about all people, but people perceive you as a more of a threat, and then if he's big and black, yeah, it's hard. I was in at Fort McCoy, and it's surrounded by Toma and
Yep.
and Fort McCoy's in the middle. So me and my friend Rashawn Briscoe, we go to Walmart and we're in uniform. And this is in Toma. Everybody's waving, saying hi, being all nice, smiling. So it's like 2 days later, we go back and I told him, I was like, before we walked in, I was like, now you watch. Not a damn person is going to say anything to us. Not a smile, not a wave, nothing. And he looked at me, he's like, what are you talking about? And we went through Walmart, greeter didn't say a word to us. No, nobody even looked at us or said anything to us. And this is when we were in regular civilians, wearing in our uniform, and he just couldn't believe it. And I told him, I was like, he's from Chicago, and mostly he's been around black people, but he's been around white people too. But he never thought of it like that. And I told him, I was like, this is it. Like you're in Toma, it's 6 black people in Toma, and
Maybe.
if that, And another story, I was in La Crosse, so I had this Acura, and it was like a tuner little car, little Fast and Furious joint, but I'm in my uniform, and Walmart do oil changes, so I'm getting my oil change. So I literally pulled my car up to the door, got out, talked with the guy. So I came in the waiting room, I was going to get sold out the vending machine and just chill out. And there was an older white woman. She had to be like 40, maybe 45, between 40 and 45. But so she's sitting down in a chair and she has a purse on a chair next to her. She takes her purse and puts it under her legs. And I look at her and I'm just like, I'm in uniform, man. Like, what do you think I'm about to do? I'm thinking in my head, and I go, I know you didn't move that purse so I can sit next to you, but I will sit next to you if you want me to. Is that why you moved your purse? And she like kind of stuttered. And I was like, ma'am, don't even. I said, don't worry. I'm not going to take your purse because they have my car. My oil's getting changed and I'm in uniform. So that might be a problem. But it's just the most ridiculous. This is just one of many stories, I've experienced, and people will never know what it's like to, be black in America. And good, thank God, because it's enough to make you, upset or change of view. It ain't for the faint of heart. So, it's it is you definitely have to see the good. And I've always been like super optimistic anyway. So I try to leave experiences and situations like that with giving the troubled party something to think about, And I don't know if that lady still scared of black people in uniform, but I hope she, saw the way I handled it, and I'm hoping that might have changed her mind. But who knows?
Yeah. She probably went home and was like, oh, I might have offended him. I should probably not do that next time. Or at least let's hope she did.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I'll never forget that. It was just crazy. I looked down, I was like, wait, I do have on my uniform. What the hell? What? Like, yeah, it blew my mind. But
like, what are you doing, ma'am? Like, I could never, like, obviously, like, I have no idea what, like, it's like to live as a black guy, and I never will, which is why I'm so glad you're telling me all these things, and you're going to tell the world all these things once this goes live. And I really hope, like, all my white friends listen to this and just like, oh, hey, we should probably learn some more things.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not trying to, beat you over the head and say, you should do this or you should learn this. No, I'm just saying, just listen, read a couple books if you can. It's a great book by Michelle Alexander called The New Jim Crow. And then there's also a documentary on Netflix called 13. And it basically talks about how when they abolished slavery and when slavery stopped, they just basically replaced that with prison. You got people who are still in prison for something I can go to California or Las Vegas and pay taxes on, weed. I can go in a store and pay taxes on that now and buy it, but it's still people in prison for that. And 93% of them are Black. That's a problem. When Black people were smoking heroin in the 70s and 80s, it was a drug war. Once 2010, 2015, they started doing it in Ohio suburbs, it became an opioid epidemic. Like now we have to get help. And read about Fred Hampton and his relationship with the FBI and how they basically killed him. He was with the Black Panthers, and their fight with J. Edgar Hoover of the FBI, let's see what else. Like I said, anything from Dr. Cornel West. He's a smart, passionate guy, and university. He had a bunch of degrees. He was a professor at Yale, professor at Harvard. Very, very well spoken, smart person. He learned something from. Like I said, that book by Ibram X. Kendi, How to Be Anti-Racist. That's like a great book, and it's eye-opening, and it gives you a lot of things that you might not have ever even thought about, or experiences of what it is like to be Black coming up in America, and just what you can do to help. And that's just a couple places to start. And once you know these things, and it you're gonna be obligated to share them. And I'm not saying you have to. I'm saying you're gonna want to, because you're gonna see just how wrong things have been. If you have any type of decency in you as a human, you're gonna want to figure out, okay, what can I do to help, or what can I do to change? I want to. It's either you want to be on the right side of history or you don't, and that's major. Like, we all have the chance to be on the right side of history. So why wouldn't you want to be on the right side of history? We've seen how this type of thing can play out. We've read what's happened before in the world. Now we have our chance here in 2020 to be on the right side of history. So when they're writing about this in the book, which side are you going to be on? And why wouldn't you want to be on the right side?
Perfect. That's perfect right there. Like, my brother is in high school right now, and I'm going to go hang out with him this weekend back in Wisconsin. And I'm just going to straight up ask him, be like, dude, what are you guys learning in history class like right now? Because like, it's probably the same stuff I learned 10 years ago when I was in high school. And be like, guys, this needs to change. Like, 2020 is going to go down in history as like one of the craziest years we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
So like, our grandkids or like our great grandkids are going to open a history book and be like, oh, this was going on when they like had iPhones. Like, you could Google whatever you wanted on like wherever you wanted.
Information is readily available. I encourage people to just, you don't have to. It's a lot that you can take in. Just it's a bunch of even if you just go to YouTube and put in Dr. Cornel West. It's a couple of 9-11 minute videos. Start with that. And then let the brain work and explore and learn and listen more, and you won't regret it at all. I don't know anyone who's ever regretted being more informed and having information to help those around them. So
yeah, like, people spend however many minutes or hours getting lost on like YouTube rabbit holes. Like, go down this one.
Yeah, it's a good one. You
have a lot of time off right now.
Yeah,
go do
it. Yeah. If not now, when? If not now, when? This is the time where we can actually create real change in policy, changing us as humans. Like we got the green light. You know what we're gonna do with it. We got everything we need. So it's no excuse not to. It's no excuse not to make this. And a lot of people say, I don't want to bring a kid into this world. But you can bring a kid into this world and change it and help them change it. And this can be the start of, the generations to come where we reverse the tide, where we actually create this seismic shift into being good people all around, where it's equality all around, where Martin Luther King, you don't have to have a dream. We don't need any more Martin Luther Kings. We don't need any more Malcolm X's. We could start the path to that right now. We can stop having to quote them, because what they said can come to fruition. So
yeah. Have you about like Martin Luther King and all that? Like, do you know who Neil Brennan is?
Yeah.
So like he has a joke that like everyone should hear right now, where he's like, aliens are asking us, like, why are you guys such assholes? And he's like, what? And he's like, hasn't anyone ever told you to be nice? And he's like, well, yeah, there's this one guy, this one Jewish guy. And they're like, just him? They're like, no, there's this black guy named Martin Luther King. Well, what'd you guys do to those two people? Oh, yeah, we're dicks. She's like, yeah. Like,
and that's what, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Like, it's so true. Like, people forget that, like, in the past however many years that we've been here, there's only been like 2 or 3 outstanding like people that have like blatantly said, stop doing this, which should, because like it should be common sense. Like, it should be common sense. You just treat your neighbors like as well as you want your neighbors to treat you.
Yeah.
And like I thought that joke was probably one of the best jokes and like lines I've ever heard. And I was like I can't like edit a Netflix special because I like, don't know how to do that. But like I'm just gonna like find the minute he says it and just be like, everybody go listen to this. Like it'll put you where you need to be right now.
So I think he actually said that on Dan Le Batard's show, the ESPN show. That's when I heard, he was talking about it. But I'll shoot you a text with the podcast. It was like a week ago he was on there.
Okay.
He's funny as hell, but like, I'm pretty sure I heard him say that. But that's true, and that's another thing that I tell people to stop doing. He misrepresent Martin Luther King. I saw a meme. It was like, oh yeah, we need Martin Luther King right now, or people love to like dilute the message because they're feeling uncomfortable, so they want to insert Martin Luther King, non-violence, and all that. But Martin Luther King was a radical, and regardless, non-violence or not, y'all killed him. He was murdered for that. So that's stop doing that. So I've had to tell people to stop misrepresenting Martin Luther King like that. Put some respect on his name, okay? Because for everything he stood for, he still was murdered. So let's not forget that part. That's pretty important,
Yeah.
And that's exactly what, that's exactly what Neil Brent was saying. Like, yeah, we had these two, we had this great guy, and what did you do to him? Oh, okay, makes sense. Yeah, that's why you guys are messed up as you are, and it's truth in that, and that's the thing about comedy. It's a lot of truth in comedy. So,
yeah. And I don't know how much time you have. Like I have all night, but we hit an hour. But if you want to keep talking, I'm totally down with keeping on going.
Actually, I gotta handle some other stuff for the kids, but we can do it again.
Yeah, we'll definitely do part 2. We can do it in person now that COVID rules have been lifted a little bit.
Yeah, I'm down.
Awesome. Where can people find you, Ken?
You can find me on Twitter. Let me make sure my handle's still the same. I think it is Yeah, it's at Kenn Glenn on Twitter, KENNGLENN, or you can find me on Instagram. Let me see. My Instagram is pretty full. Sorry. It's Kenjitsu, so KENNJITSU _ BAKU. Kenjitsu Baku.
Okay.
And then yeah, Kenn Glenn on Facebook. And yeah, if anybody who sees this and listens to this wants to talk or got any questions, reach out. I am down to have some dialogue and answer some questions, and especially if I can help you take a step in the right direction and be on the right side of history, I'm down.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kenn.
Yeah, for sure.